Now the two were fighting incredibly close, and Fex had to pull one of his strings ever so slightly, causing an elbow to hit the large guard in the middle of his stomach. "Huh? Did it not hit? But I'm sure it did." Fex was slightly confused. He tugged on the string again, a little bit harder this time, elbowing the guard in the stomach again. Still, there was no reaction. Although the elbow had hit the large man, there seemed to be no reaction whatsoever. This was because of the heavy armor the man was wearing. However, even though the attack didn't hurt, the rage on his face was visible. "You two! It's time for them to get out of here." Pulling the strings back, Fex started to dash down the hallway. The students began to imitate Fex's movements and ran off as well, following his direction. The large guard followed them, but was quite slow with his heavy gear. It seemed like one of the attributes it gave was not speed. Some users would choose to focus on a set of beast armor that specialized in one area. They would do this to make up what they were lacking for, or to strengthen their abilities. Leila saw the students dashing towards the hallway right around the corner following Fex, who ran down the same hallway seconds ago, which meant soon the bulky guard would soon follow them around the same corner. Next to her was a door leading to a classroom. It was a Sunday, and nearly all the classrooms were empty as the staff and most of the students had a day off. Oh no! With nothing else to do, she went for the closest room, opening the door and stepping inside. She took a deep breath and held it in. The sound of the large guard's footsteps could be heard as he ran around the corner to chase the two students. Once the footsteps could no longer be heard, she stepped out of the room again. As she turned to look around the corner, she noticed there was still another problem. The second guard was still standing outside. As long as he was there, Vorden and Quinn wouldn't be able to get inside. She looked around to see if there was anything she could do. The only thing she could see was a plant pot down the hallway. Lifting it with her telekinesis ability, she started to levitate it in the air and floated it across the hall towards the green guard. The guard spotted it floating about, slowly coming towards him, but he remained there still. When the pot was finally in front of his face, he lashed out, smashing it and allowing it to drop to the floor, yet he still hadn't moved from his position. "Looks like I'm just going to have to kick his," Rayton said. "No, Vorden, this whole plan, we need you to cause the biggest distraction inside, you know that," Quinn said. "Leave this guy to me." Inside the meeting room, Jack was preparing himself. He straightened up the tie on his suit and then licked his lips, making sure they weren't too dry. "This is the worst part," Jack said. He walked up to the first student and bent down, so the two were at eye level. His head was now right next to the student's. Grabbing the person by the head, he pulled it forward. Suddenly, Jack could feel the energy from the student entering his body. After 30 seconds or so, Jack removed it. He then spat on the ground and wiped his lips with his sleeve. "Damn it, why did my ability have to work in such a way?" Jack said annoyingly. The only way Jack was able to take the ability of another was to forcefully drain it from their mouths. He had tried and tested multiple ways, but for some reason, this was the only way that worked. Some of the stronger abilities seemed to have certain restrictions, similar to Vorden, who had to touch the other user, and how it would only last up to 24 hours. Still, there was nothing he could do about it, so he continued to go down the line, against each student, draining their abilities. After each ability had been drained, he could feel them lingering around inside his stomach. Each of the forces was like little flames, all different from another. Finally, he had reached Aaron. "Now here is someone I don't mind against," Jack said, as he looked at Aaron's delicate face and realized she was a true beauty. It was a shame she was still young, otherwise he would have taken her back with him. The energy flowed through Aaron's body and slowly entered Jack's. While doing so, he could feel a slightly cold sensation. An icy breath was seen. Her ability had been taken, and it now remained inside of Jack. Now there was only one student who remained, and that was Peter. As Jack looked at him, he realized that Peter wasn't an attractive sight at all. His face was sunken in, and he looked dehydrated, almost like he was already dead. If he didn't see him moving earlier, he would have thought he was dead. "All right, last one." Jack then moved his face closer to Peter. He closed his eyes as he went to... "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Peter said. His eyes were wide open, and he was staring at Jack, who was standing right in front of his face. "You're awake! But how? I saw him use the sleeping agent on you, Jack shouted as he backed away. He panicked and quickly hid behind the desk. Kenny, get in here right now. One of them is awake, Jack shouted, very much panicked and frightened. A situation like this had never happened before. Just as Kenny was about to open the door, a shadow raised from underneath, blocking his path. A strange shadow rose from the bottom of the door, completely covering it. After a few seconds, it looked like some type of shadow hand had formed, reaching out to Kenny, the guard in green beast gear. He quickly reacted, taking a few steps back, not allowing the hand to touch him. He had never seen anything like it before, so he made sure to be cautious. It was a phenomenon unknown to him, so first, he needed to find out what it did before he could act accordingly. He took a single needle and swirled it around in his mouth before throwing it towards the shadow. But when the needle hit, strangely enough, there seemed to be no reaction at all. What is this thing? Is it some kind of ability? This was not good. Judging by the screams inside, it was clear that one of the students was still awake. If they were using their ability right now, it could be the end of the Truedream family. Of course, it was Quinn. He had used his shadow cloak ability to sneak up to the remaining guard in the hallway, and when he heard Jack Truedream screaming for help, he had decided to distract the guard, to give Vorden a chance to sneak into the room and take care of Jack. When he started his shadow control ability, he had to drop his shadow cloak, so the guard was going to notice him any second now. The guard looked around to see if there was any other way into the room, and that's when he spotted someone. A man dressed in a black suit of armor, wearing a demon mask covering his face. Even the top of his head was covered, showing him the jagged white mechanical eyes of the suit. "Is it you?" the guard asked. He knew he had to get inside quickly because of the main weakness his boss had, which was that he couldn't use the abilities he took from others. He was only able to give them to other people. So at the moment, he was defenseless without his guards. Quinn said nothing in response and started to dash forward, bringing the shadow from the door back to him, and it was now hovering above him. The guard saw this and immediately threw several needles, but the shadow managed to block them all. Quinn quickly moved aside, pulling the shadow close to him, allowing the needles to pass through and continue down the hallway. Damn it! This is the problem going up against an original. The guard was right. One of the main advantages one would have in a fight was knowing the ability of the other, using the information Logan had given him and his inspection skill. Quinn knew he couldn't afford to get hit by those needles. He wasn't sure if his suit was strong enough to block them, so he would keep the shadow close to himself for protection. When the guard saw that his needles were ineffective, he quickly pulled out his dagger. He was waiting for Quinn to get close. However, when they were around 9 meters apart, Quinn jumped into the air, spinning his body, and then threw out a kick from the side. Blood crescent kick! A large crescent-shaped line of red aura came out, strong and fast. The man had never expected this. He thought because the shadow was only used for defense so far, it would now be used for an attack, so he was keeping a keen eye on the shadow's movements. But instead, it looked like his opponent was using a completely different ability.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.